So, on my channel, we talk about some pretty taboo, pretty risque things. And the channel is called Let's Talk About It. It's built around the idea that dialogue, I certainly believe, dialogue helps deal with things, helps address subjects that shouldn't be there, subjects that people are unhappy with. But if nobody's talking about it, and it looks a lot like nobody cares about it, then the big problem is people who are doing it, people who are peddling it, people who are involved in it do so with impunity. And it just keeps going. And today, I'm talking about a big one. I'm talking about pedophilia. And I'm not going to make any claims. I'm not going to give too many examples or case studies. I'm going to talk about anybody in particular. I'm not even going to draw any conclusions. What I want to do here is I want to just make a few observations and tell you, and then all of the people that are going to watch, they're going to make their own mind up. They're going to draw their own conclusions. Because, well, it's a couple of things. You're not children. You don't need to be led around by your hand. You don't need to be told what to think. You can make your own minds up. And everybody else telling you what to think and not letting you make your own minds up is what's damaging your level of intellect in the first place. And also because we do live in a time where if you say the wrong things, you can be arrested, prosecuted, and you get in a lot of trouble for the things you say. So I draw no conclusions. What I'm going to say instead is this. There are obviously pedophiles, those people who act out on their impulses and they victimize and they hurt somebody and they involve a child in something like sex. Those are obviously pedophiles. But there are other kinds of pedophiles, aren't there? There are also pedophiles who don't act on it, but they're trying to. They're grooming or they're. I've read things, you read things online. This stuff that I've read, by the way, that I'm going to refer to. Anyone can go online, you can look at this, you can see this yourself as well. You can Google it, it's on YouTube. There are people who have live cams and they pay mothers in foreign countries to see their children or to have somebody come and abuse their children on camera or something like that. Those kind of people are not people who are involving in it themselves, not people who are acting out themselves, but they're trying to find ways of doing it, or they're trying to groom children. Those are also pedophiles, yes? Then there's other people. There's other types of pedophiles. And I'm making this sound a little bit like a tier list, and I suppose it is really because whilst there is simply right and wrong, there is also different levels of wrong and different levels of right. For example, if I buy my wife flowers for her birthday, that's right. If I buy her a sports car, it's not the same, is it? So you can't argue that there are different levels. If a man finds his wife cheating and he slaps her, he's wrong. If he stabs her and her lover, that's worse. You're not going to argue that's the same. Yes? So is somebody who cheats on his wife worse, the same, or not as bad as somebody who murders his wife? So let's not argue that there's levels of right and wrong. So in this example, I'm talking about this. I'm not going to call it a tier list, but it sounds like it, doesn't it? That some people look at images online and they are also pedophiles, aren't they? Because they've looked at these indecent images of these exploited children. So that's also pedophilia. It's not the same as actually having your hands on somebody and victimizing them. And then there's another sort. And this is really the point that I'm making. Sorry it's taken me 4.5 minutes to get here, but I had to lay the foundations before I could build the house. So what I'm trying to say is that you can go on YouTube and you can see hundreds of videos. And everywhere you go in your life, if you have children, you see them when you go to school, when your children have friends round, or when it's a pageant or like the Christmas fair or summer fete, something like that, sports days. And you can see that there's take the YouTube, for example. Videos of um, uh, the Christmas shows, kids do at schools. You see all these children, they're all standing there, they're all wearing leotards. The leotards are tight. And in these videos, you could see these girls have visible camel toes. Now, I'm not going to draw conclusions, like I said, but what I am going to say is I'm going to say the adult who's backstage helping the children dress and get them ready to go on stage, he or she, how are they allowing the children to go on stage with visible camel toes? Put yourself in that position, would you? Would you stop? Would you say, little Lily, look, I can't explain this to you right now, but you can't go out like that because everyone can see your private bits. No, nothing. Just send them out there in front of all those people, all the parents outside who are watching, and all the other children, siblings. Nobody else is saying anything. Nobody's complaining. Everybody's just accepted it. Everybody's just watching. The person who made the video, a couple of points, he or she zooms in on the thing. And you can see hundreds of these. There was a talent show, like a Britain's Got Talent, but in some other country, according to the wording. I didn't recognize it. Maybe it was Russian, Polish, I don't know. There was a pole in the middle of the stage. And then what looked like a 5-year-old girl came out in what looks like lingerie. And she did a pole dancing act. And you know what? I expected when I was watching this, the first thing that would happen, as soon as the girl came out, all three of the judges would go buzz, buzz, buzz. They didn't. They sat and they watched through it. The audience watched through it. Is the parent or parents are the parents of that child that are allowing her to dress like that, allowing her to be presented like that, makeup, dolled up, lingerie, and then learn pole dancing? Do they have a bit of pedophile in them, do you think? The judges that are sat there watching that, and they didn't just buzz her straight off stage and said, no, not on my show, not happening. Do they have a bit of pedophile in them? All the people in the audience, nobody booed, nobody complained. Do they have some pedophile in them? Any adult that's involved in this kind of thing, their own kids, other people's kids, whatever it is, some kind of talent show, some sort of pageant, whatever, and these kids are walking around and you can see their bits, and show organizers, choreography, the people that do the choreography, the parents in the audience, no one's saying anything. Nobody's kicking off. Do those people have a little bit of pedophile in them? So why is there a Wherever's Got Talent show in a country, any developed country, that has, let's call her 5-year-old girl in lingerie? And the other thing is, how is there lingerie for 5-year-olds? I mean, tell me those people aren't pedophiles. Now, how is there a show where she's learnt pole dancing, and who taught her that as well? Use your brain. Wake your brain up. Think about this stuff. How many adults that aren't grooming, that aren't looking at images online, that aren't assaulting children, just going about their daily business so they're not getting in trouble, so they think they're okay, so they think they're decent, so they think they're not? How many of them that, if you've got a kid, if you're a man or a woman, your mummy, your daddy, whatever, whether you don't choose a side, you say, hey, I'm just pronoun. If you've got a little kid, a little girl, and she's wearing something so tight that you can see her bits, if you don't have a problem with that, if you don't stop that, and she's going and learning dance like that, and she's all dolled up with makeup, you have to ask yourself, is there a bit of pedophile in you as well? As I said earlier, my channel, Let's Talk About It, is all about dialogue, and it's all about talking about them nasty, horrible things that nobody's talking about. And as I said earlier, I believe that only by talking about it can you address these things. Can you start to really get them onto a stage where other people are addressing them? If nobody's talking about it, nothing happens about it. But you have to talk about it, which is what we're doing. And this has to go away. These relationships between adults and children that are romantic, they ruin so many lives. And the police and the government, their response is just to arrest people, prosecute them. But that doesn't change anything. It doesn't help the children. It doesn't help the people who have done it, because they're obviously clearly something mentally wrong if they're doing that. Well, arresting them isn't going to fix their mental problem. Let's really, as a whole species of adults, let's really get talking about this. Let's really start opening doors and windows, really open your mind as well. And look at yourself and say next time little Darcy or whatever's off down the street, and or she's in a room and you go up there and you tell her it's time to do her homework and she's wearing a leotard and you can see private bits. Ask yourself when you look at that, how does that make you feel? And is it a bit weird if you don't try and teach her that that's visible and she can't walk around like that? Well, this has been Let's Talk About It. And now I want you to think about it. And then I'm hoping that between us, we can do something about it.